There we go. Right. Hello. We're going to do this again. Welcome, everybody. We now have sound. So I know exactly what it was. Shoot myself there. So hello, everybody, and welcome into the stream today. So good to see you. Niles, Cyber, Norgatron, Carrix. Good to see you. Hey, Goer as well. So today we have the amazing Tea Party Percy with us. How are you, Tea Party? Good to see you.
Take two. Hi, guys. What's up?
Yep, take two. There we go. But yes, the sound should all be coming through now. So we are all good. But yeah, so welcome in. This is Ark Cast episode 3, talking all about guild versus guild. We're going to be talking about things like tips for leveling a guild nicely and what kind of content you can do as a guild. Also, as well, rewards and things for the guild content and the classes and stuff like that. But can I just double check, guys, that you can hear me? Because everything's coming through my end now. All good? Norgatron said all good. Okay, perfect. We're all good with that. So yeah, so I've been really excited. The guild's been really, really, really excited. Percy showing his face. That's unusual. I was here. Daryl is. So yeah,
Daryl.
Amazing. Is he from your guild?
Yeah. One of the plebs from my guild.
Amazing. So yes. Oh, here we go. Regal as well. So Tea Party, thanks for the tutorials for the Abyssal. I watched them for NA beta and finish. There we go. Some nice compliments straight off the bat. But yes. Thank you so much as well for the face reveal, guys. So yeah, this is the face reveal. Peace. Love it. So yeah, do you want to give us a bit of an intro to yourself, Percy? Like how long you might have been playing Lost Ark for, the kind of things you do, because you've got a guild and things going, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, okay, I started playing Lost Ark since the second Korean CBT, I guess. Not even sure how long it is, like 3-4 years, I guess. Yeah, it should be around 3-4 years. I pretty much started right at the beginning, made a guild called Tea Party. And since then, I have a guild going on with a lot of amazing members. Daryl, one of the guys in the chat, sticking with me since Korean times. So yeah, we had like the guild in Korea for a year, and then we got the Russian release. Unfortunately, my blaster got banned or re-verified, and I couldn't re-verify it again like most of the guys. So I was kind of forced to move to RU. I don't regret it anymore. I used to. And since then, we have a guild going on. There were up and downs. We're doing it great currently for what we have. And, we don't have that many or any whales who are active in GvG. We are doing great. We are currently 6th place. Most of it thanks to my guildies and Daryl, who is also there, who's managing with me the guild. I didn't have that much time to participate the last few GvGs. He's doing great together with other long active OGs in the guild. I think we are all enjoying it, even though we are not, top 1 or the whale guild. We are pretty much, I would say, between casual and hardcore, somewhere there. And yeah, doing great. My Arcana is doing great. Currently, I'm maining Arcana. I used to main Blaster. I will talk about that later, if necessary, why I changed. Currently trying to beat Upper Shoal Phase 4 with my party.
Nice. No, that sounds really good. The Upper Shoal raids are crazy. They look so amazing. The rehearsal has just come to Russia. It's something that I'm very keen to do. I've got a bunch of characters up there as well. Hey, good evening, everybody. So welcome, everybody, just tuning in. So yes, just getting the introduction here. We're just chatting away. So yeah, I mean, the first question I had for you would be tips then for new guilds. Like, you can set passwords, things. So this is so just imagine like someone's just come into the game and they're like, okay, well, I've got a guild from previous games. They're coming in and maybe any kind of tips, things. And they know that you can like level up guilds. So maybe like tips for new guilds, like things like setting up passwords and maybe ways of how to level a guild quickly. Any info on that?
Yeah, okay. Before we talk about the guilds in Lost Ark, I think one of the mistakes I have done, which I would recommend not to do, is to set a goal. Like, what kind of guild you want to be? Are you a guild with members who have the same goal and who want to be hardcore, or you just want to enjoy PvE? Like, you need to make it clear. Initially, I made the mistake. We aimed for a hardcore guild with progress only, hardcore focus, and it's important to know if you focus on GvG, you need to do PvE too, because GvG gear matters. So you have to min-max your PvE gear so that it works also in GvG. You have to get proper engraving and so on. So once you know what kind of guild you want to be, and if you want to go hardcore for the top first GvG slots, then you have to set goals according to that. If you're someone who wants to just enjoy the game and do some kind of, B rank, C rank GvGs, we will talk about it later, which are a little bit more casual, then you don't need to focus on being the top gear char, having the perfect cards, and so on. So the other stuff you need to min-max. So that's the first thing. Next is, in terms of leveling a guild, it's hard to say what the best way is to level your guild. But I think get your 30 members. Like, if you want to be quick, you need to get those people as soon as possible into the guild once you create it. So the first guy the first guy in the guild who is able to get the 10k silver. I think you need 10k silver in EUNA to create a guild. And usually I approach it this way, that whoever gets the 10k first, he makes the guild. He can, as long as he's someone I can trust. So he can pass me the lead later, but it's important that the guild is up there fast so that he can invite the people. So it can get a little bit of XP. The majority of the XP will come from guild contents and daily donations. These are kind of blocked if you just joined the guild. If you join a guild, you will have for 3 days a newbie status, if I remember correctly. And during those days, you won't be able to use all the guild functions, options, etc., which will give you currency and the guild XP. So join as fast as possible so that the 3 days are over as soon as possible so that you can actually level up your guild. After that, keep going, do your guild quests, pick the guild quests which are suited for your guild. Don't go for a weird guild quest which no one will do. And make sure you have a plan set up and to get to the 10k silver as soon as possible. I can give some tips there too soon if you want, but that's the main plan, I would say.
Okay, yeah, lovely. So yeah, get people in, the daily contributions there, and importantly the guild quest. So get the guild quest going, and you can choose from that as well. So you can choose like PvP, you can choose, that's what you were saying, like don't pick something weird that people aren't going to do. So yes, that's really good information. Thank you for that one there. Anything else you want to add to that from you on the next one?
Not really. I mean, if you're gonna talk in depth about guild quests, I will add something later then. I mean, I don't need to add it now. Okay.
No, that's fine. Yeah. We can add on to that potentially later on. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so my plan for reaching 10k silver already purchased found is there's that there. Never trust Percy. I'm just reading out some chat. First rule of T5.
just ignore Daryl. He's just trolling.
Amazing. Okay, so the next one I had. So these questions, by the way, there's some questions come from me, some questions from my community and things. And when I was streaming, I actually brought them up a little while back and we were going through them. So another thing people wanted to know was like, do you need like a core set of players? Like, how important is it to have like a core set, or can you just have like people just like kind of coming in, joining the guild, maybe people leaving and that? How important would you say it is to have like that core set?
Pretty important. First of all, you can't do the join in, join out part, because if you are a newbie, once again, I mentioned it earlier, the first few days you will have the newbie status and you can't participate in those guild-related contents, or most of the guild-related contents, including GvG. There is a mercenary system. You could use it, but for that you have to be guildless. So that's a different thing. I wouldn't recommend it though. Like, just commit to a guild, and I think at the end of the day it will give you more benefits that way than if staying a mercenary. So a core set is kind of important. There were times where we lacked a core team. Currently, we don't have that issue anymore, or that much. But you want people who are used to the battleground movement. I mean, the GvG is not just simple GvG. You have different kind of islands, different kind of ranks, different kind of objectives. And it takes time to get used to all those objectives and what you need to do to understand what are the mistakes you can do and so on, and to listen to shot calls. There can be, as an example, there can be someone in the guild who is like Grandmaster. I know it's we didn't have a Grandmaster in the guild, but let's assume someone is Grandmaster in Arena PvP, and he joins GvG, and there's a high chance if he never did GvG before, even if he has decent gear, he might be bad because it's a different situation. You are not only going for the enemies you're seeing on the screen, you also have to have the objective in mind. Maybe you have a shot caller. One of the things you have to have if you're aiming for higher tier or higher rank GvGs. Shot caller is nice to have, and it should be a really good shot caller to keep an overview of the battlefield. Giving shot calls is not an easy task. I tried it. I think it's one of my better skills, I would say. I'm average player, but shot calling, I think I can do it okayish or good. There are still better people out there, but it's a really important task to win a GvG. And people who never joined GvG before, they will struggle. So back to your questions. If you have a core 16, core 8, depending on which GvG you go for, it will take time. And once they get used to that, you will be better automatically. And if you get people in and out all the time, new people, it will be a mess, and you will feel that it will definitely show up in the ranking.
Yeah, because you can get some synergy then. So that's perfect. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, really good information on that one. Okay, so another one is still about like kind of like core set and things. Talking about this is how do you go about picking a main roster for your GvG? Like, so if you've got lots of people in, and you mentioned then like 8v8 and 16v16, say you've got a guild and you've got like 50 people, and just say they're really active. How do you go about picking your roster for the GvG? For example, do you go by like eye level? Do you go by people's maybe PvP skills, or do you do trials or anything like that? Do you have a system yourself?
Yeah, we have it as a guild. Most people can hear talk about it all day long because we have an overcomplicated system because it's really difficult. You will have a debate at some point. People are like, okay, I'm not highly geared, but I'm the best in PvP arena. Okay, he's really skilled, and I can spoiler alert, by the way. If you are highly geared, have no clue about PvP at all, you will see that you won't be top 1 just because you have best gear. You will literally feel like, okay, we had people who had high item level, but were really bad performing or had bad performance in a GvG just because they had no clue how PvP actually works. So that's another thing. So I would say if I had to choose, and if we are going for the top GvG, like the 16 versus 16, then I would go really for a mix between item level, the min-maxing, important item level, and the min-maxing. There are other stuff which you need, which can boost your performance and survivability in a GvG. And in addition to that, we also have, the current PvP rank. We considered all those things. When we had the luxury, of course, if you have only like 16 core members and you need 16 players, you can't choose. But if you have like 40, 50 people you can choose from, I wish I had that at some point. We would have gone for those criteria. For at least for the S rank GvGs. I'm not sure if you need that kind of stuff for Naruni Island or Snowball Island, because it's not about gear. It's more like a GvG for people who are not interested in being highly geared. So I guess there you can go for whatever you want. People who have really good reaction times, something like that. That would be one of those options there.
Okay, amazing. So this is it. So one of the next questions I can tie this into then is like contents that guilds can do, because obviously, if you said, and something that I'm very keen to learn more about myself is the different types of GvGs that you can do. But we can move on to that in a moment. But the different, so yeah, I guess the different content that guilds can do. So you've got GvE and you've got GvG. Do you want to go into a bit of detail with that lot?
Yeah. Okay. Let's start with GvE. GvE is there. Even there, you have to choose the correct one. You have GvEs of different rank. You have the A, B. Similar to GvG, and that decides how strong the boss is. And then you have also different islands of the same rank, and the biggest difference between those is the size. So one of that island, which is D rank, needs only 8 players. The other one needs 16. The last one needs, let's say, 50 players, or can go up to 50 players. You don't have to go in with 50. You can try to do it with 30, but the objective is to kill the boss as fast as possible in GvE. Obviously, if you have 50 active members, you go in for the 50-man GvE, because I don't know, even if there are whales, 2 whales or 3 whales won't be able to beat 15 man or 50 man who are decently geared. So, of course, that depends on your guild size, or let's say active member size. So if you pick a day for GvE, and you can do GvE whenever you want, you can freely choose it depending based on your guild members' most active days or stuff like that. So check or ask in the guild, okay, guys, when are you available? And pick the day where most people will be available, and that number should dictate which GvE you should aim for. Let's say you guys have 30 active members on a particular day. So you go for a 30-man GvE or less. Of course, you shouldn't go for a 50-man, because there will be most likely guilds who will have 40, 50 people active. They will beat you. And if you go one step further, if you think, okay, we have that many people and X percentage of them are really good geared. So depending on the gear, you can go up the rank, not only the one of the 3 options you have, you can also go up ranks. So instead of picking a D, you go for a B1, for example, because you are decently geared, or you go even higher. The benefit of going for higher GvEs or choosing the higher GvE is that you simply get better rewards even if you place worse. Let's say, just as an example, I don't have the exact numbers here in my head, but let's say, I think if you picked on the best guild or the highest ranked GvE and you place in the top 10, you will still earn more than the first place in the lowest ranked GvE. And in GvE, you earn not only guild XP based on your ranking at the end of the week, but you also get a lot of guild currency, which will be distributed at the end of the week between all guild members based on some settings which the guild leader can do in the guild menu.
Amazing. Okay, so yeah, so good information there on the GvE. So different sizes and different ranked islands and things that you can do. That's amazing.
Mhm.
That's really cool. And what about the GvG then? Is that pretty much the same? You got all the different sizes?
Yeah, kinda. Like the rank system is there. You have also different islands to choose and different size of max members who can join. Obviously, you shouldn't go for a 16-man PvP or GvG if you have only 8 active players. So once again, you need to consider that as one of the factors. And then again, how good is your gear? How good are you min-maxed, or how well are you min-maxed in the guild? Those core members. Depending on that, you choose the rank. And then one of the major difference why people should even try any of the GvGs or most of the GvGs is because you get that much more guild currency XP, and depending on island, you get also a lot of gold. So that's something you can distribute between your members. Exactly. Especially at the beginning, I don't know, like we will talk about it later about when we're going to get it in EUNA, but especially at the beginning, every single gold coin matters, I would say.
Yeah, it really does. When you're trying to get like your equipment, or trying to get your seal books, your engraving books, things like that. Yeah, every bit of money matters, because the GvG content and stuff isn't that widely popular. So there's I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of people playing Lost Ark through, and nobody really talks about it, or hardly anyone does it. So yeah, it's really interesting to know. When I first found out about how much money, when I first saw it in the menu, I was like, wow. It could be some big numbers from holding those GvGs. So again, like, there's half the reason for doing this and talking with you today and stuff, and spreading the knowledge about GvG, because there isn't a lot of info out there, to be honest. So it's good on that. Okay,
yeah, I guess we will be forced at some point to talk about the dark sides of GvG. So that's why a lot of people don't like to talk about GvG at all. It's hard to not talk about those things, but we will get to that. I know the questions you're gonna ask.
Yeah,
so let's wait and see.
Coming. And guys, as well, I could see Regal said, sorry, do your questions first. Yeah, we will get on to viewer questions as well a little bit later on. So we've just got a bunch of questions we're going to go through here first, and then we'll see how we get on. So how many people for GvG? So how often can you do the GvE and the GvGs? How often?
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. GvE is, as I mentioned earlier, you can choose when you want to do, and you can try out all the GvEs prior, before the guild leader choose an actual GVE, the guild leader has to choose one and then actually mark it as, okay, this is our GVE for this week. Once the guild leader chose a specific island for this week, the guild has 2 attempts to get the best time. So every attempt counts. So you have to prepare for it. You have to check, okay, is that the GVE for us prior to claiming or registering for that GVE. But other than that, you can do it whenever you want, but you have 2 tries to get the best time once the GVE is assigned to you. The GvG is once per week, and you can't choose when you're going to do GvG. It's a server-wide event. So it will be, I mean, it makes sense, right? If you apply for GvG and you fight whenever you want, you won't have any opponents. So it has to be on a set day. So it's once per week, and there are a couple of matches. I think it takes like around 2 hours. You will face a couple of guilds, and based on the results, you will have a ranking. So it's the case for my S-rank islands. And I have to admit, I never did Naruni. I never did Snowball Island. So I'm not sure on those funny, Wonderland islands with PvP, how many matches you have to do. I guess it should be something similar.
Okay. Perfect. So so again, good info. So you've got set times for the GvG, because otherwise, just say you just go, all right, guys, get a nap in now. We're all going to wake up at 4 a.m. and register for this GvG when no one's online and just cheese it. So
nah,
yeah, you don't want to be doing that. So that's interesting. But the GvE stuff's nice because that's not against another guild. It's just against obviously environment. So you can just kind of go, okay, when's everyone going to be on? Plan for it, and then just go and do it. So you can do those twice per week once you've, as you say, once you've registered for, I want to do this one. So did you say that you can practice it beforehand, or is there a way?
Yeah, for GvE, as far as I know, if they didn't change it, you could, before the guild leader claims or registers that this island is for us, before he does that, you can try out also the other ones and decide which one is the best one for you. You will find it out pretty fast. So I don't think it's a big issue. The biggest thing will be always to get the proper members, enough members for a specific party or for a specific GvE boss. One thing I forgot is in GvG, you have, besides from the Snowball, Naruni, and the actual player versus player GvG islands, you have also some islands which are in the category of GvG, but it's actually more similar to GvE because you have like a few islands where you have to beat a boss. In addition to that, like the main difference between that kind of boss in GvG and the GvE kind of boss beating or slaying is that the GvG boss has a little bit more mechanics and interactions, and it's also on that particular day. It's not like GvE; you can do it whenever you want, and the ranking there is similar to the GvE ranking. If you can, whoever beats the fastest, there is a rank based on clear time. So that's kind of like a GvG without facing other players directly, I would say. But at the end of the day, you have to know the GvG islands where you have to fight actual opponents will obviously reward you with more stuff in terms of gold, XP, and whatever, everything.
Perfect. Because my next question then is the rewards for guild content. So we've touched a little bit on this already, but do you want to just lay out the kind of things that you get?
Yeah. So it's similar to what I explained to GvE. You have to know where you're standing. Like, I see that very often people are complaining about S-rank territories. It's like once they enter it, it's one-shot fiesta. I kind of have to agree on that. Depending on your gear and stuff like that, you will face opponents who are out-gearing, out-leveling, whales, whatever. You can also find hardcore players who are at the same level as whales. It is possible. But it depends on your guild. So you have to know where your guild is. And if you are with 8 people or 6 core, barely 6 core members, 16 core members with barely any gear, not even min-maxed, besides from the whaling part, there are other stuff you can min-max. We can talk about it later. If you didn't even do that, then of course you're going to get one-shotted if you go for the high-ranking one. So it's something you have to work for. And even then, even if you're an S rank, you have to ask yourself, did I deserve that rank? Did I did everything as best as I could for this particular high rank or low rank, or can I do better? So at the end of the day, once again, if you want to get better ranks or better rewards, you have to work as a guild towards it, and you have to realize, okay, am I fine here? Am I fine with the rewards I get for what I have done with the guild together, or am I not? Yeah, and at the end of the day, the rewards are pretty simple. The higher the rank, the better the placing, the more gold, the more guild XP, the more guild currency will be added to the guild bank, which will be distributed later at weekly reset, either automatically set based on the percentage which the guild leader set, or the gold, for example, can be divided between the members who participated in GvG, or between everyone in the guild, if the guild wants it to be like that. Yeah.
Okay, no, perfect. Amazing. So, right, okay. So the next one, again, we've touched on whales, right? So by whales, we mean people who are swiping, right? Just in case anyone doesn't understand what we're talking about there. So people who are paying real money. So my next question is your thoughts on, is GvG pay to win?
Of course. Of course it is. I mean, it would be a lie if I would say, hey, everything is perfect, nothing is wrong there, because we literally fought. I mean, once again, the last few GvGs I didn't participate because of time reasons, but since Korea, we literally went for the highest rank and had to fight every week, mostly against whales, at least once, and we are still doing that. So that's one thing. Like we have barely any whales in our guild. I would say in the core setup, if I check we have a Google Doc with all those requirements and stuff like that to have an overview to pick the best people. If I go over that, I always see, okay, those setup is something which you can get as a, let's say, not as a hardcore, but like something below hardcore, but still above casual. That's how most of the people in the guilds are. And of course, that's not enough to beat whales. But on the other hand, we know of hardcore guilds who are not whaling as much as people who are not only swiping. They are beating them because they know how PvP works, and they have also other stuff min-maxed. But yeah, it's definitely there. If someone asks me if Lost Ark pay to win, I would say yes, but only if you are fully focused on GvG. If it's not about GvG, I don't care. Like, to be honest, if I'm doing PvE, I love PvE, by the way. Even there, I love shot calling and stuff like that, or just doing the raids and failing for hours. I enjoy that. So, do I care if someone else beats that boss faster than I do? No, I really don't care, because the time I spend with my guildmates is the most, or with my party members, is the thing which hold me there for this on this, or hold me here in this game for so many years. So I don't care if someone is faster, as long as they can't hurt my PvE experience, and I don't. The only way they can hurt me is in GvG, and even that I'm doing constantly, just because it's still fun. Okay, we are doing there. We know, we make fun of it. Like, there is a guild. I wouldn't say, I don't even know if they are fully whales, or just because they are from a specific country. I don't want to tell which country it is. With people known to make like 10,000 accounts with 20,000 alts, and they're just getting gold from everywhere. So they're fully geared, and we have to face them, and we know already, oh shit, okay, prepare yourself, we're gonna get one shot at, or it's not the case anymore as it used to be. Like every time we get a new content or new content update where people can break through and get a higher item level, it hurts more, because there's people who have stacked up gold. They will just get to the end of that new content pretty fast with whaling, and we, the plebs or the barely hardcore people, we have a slower pace. We need to catch up to them. So it will hurt at the beginning if you face them. They will one-shot you, of course. But in Lost Ark, the thing is, there's always like 1 to 2 months time before the next content appears, which even after reaching the minimum threshold for translating into the next content, so you have time to catch up to those whales, and then you will realize, oh, we have a chance. And I saw in the past few weeks, I saw my guildies beating those whales here and there. Like it was like, every time they beat them, they were like, "Woo, we beat them!" And I was like, "Good job, guys, good job." And it really depends how you take it. So we know where we are. We know that we are doing great for what we have, and we also had the conversation. Hey, what do we need to do to beat the whales? Obvious, we have to push our gear more than it's needed, because that's what they do. There is an efficiency curve. Do we need to push it further? No, because we can stay at this item level, and once we get the next update, we can just simply go transfer into the next tier, and then we can even climb up item level faster by using less gold than we would have used earlier before the new content was added. So most of us would agree, fuck that. We will just go for what we have and try our best, and that's what we do. We get occasionally second place on the S rank island, third place. Everything is possible, and we never got first place. I think there will be a huge party if I ever get first place
Yes.
against
a huge tea party, Percy party. Let's go.
Yeah, the tea party, you know.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, but we are happy with that, and I'm pretty sure if you have a hardcore guild and you want to aim for that first place, you can do that. But at the same time, it's important to know gear matters. Gear matters a lot.
Yeah. Okay. No, perfect. So that's my understanding of it as well. And I think you described it really well within, like, you know, is it pay to win? Where GvG, it kind of clearly is. And then with PvE, it's, well, you can pay to advance faster, but at the end of the day, if someone's on a raid above yours because you haven't got the item level there, like, who cares? No matter. Or you may end up in a party with them, in which case they're going to help carry you more so that you get more success, as long as you're having fun. So, you know.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a fan of joining with randoms. To be honest, in Russia, sorry, Russian guys, it's maybe not even Russian people, but high item level doesn't mean you will succeed with them. That's the sad truth. So I prefer to go in with my guildmates, someone I can communicate with, because you can get better by failing. And if I go with Russians, it's Russian roulette, because even if they are like out gearing by far, they can fuck up the mechanics so hard that it's not even funny.
Yeah, so, I've experienced it both ways with that, doing Vulcan and stuff like that. So I've had people that are amazing, and I've had people that have been rubbish when you're going in with randoms, you know. So yeah, even though they might have like really high gear score and they do a lot of damage, and then the first mechanic comes along and they die, and you're like, oh, and then they wipe the party, and you're like, okay, well, try again, I guess. So yeah, I understand that.
Oh, I have a tip there. If you see a high item level Russian who is using a heavy armor engraving as a TP, damage dealer, red flag, dude. Red flag.
Yeah.
Just try it another day.
Yes. Try it another day. There's also, I mean, you can look at legacy level as well, because some people have like really low legacy level, but a really high item level. And it's normally a sign of someone new that's just been swiping, right? And just boosted their characters.
Yeah, but those are things we know because we know the game. Like, for example, you can check a really high item level guy. If you check his gear and he doesn't have the level 2 effects from the clown, clown trumpets, you can use it to upgrade your level set levels. That's a red flag. If everything is level 1 and he's like 1,580, no, don't take them to Abrishal.
Fair, nice. All right, so okay, so the next one. So obviously we've been talking about the fact that gear score matters. In GvG, is all GvG content not equalized, or is there some that is, like the arena?
I would say the high tier one are not equalized at GvG. If you're talking about GvG, the high ranking one, it's basically, as I mentioned, it's a lot about gear, but not only about gear. I really want to make sure that everyone understands that it's not only about gear. There are several other factors which matters, but a major part depends on gear. But there are islands like Naruni Island where you get transformed into a dragon and do a Mario Kart race. It doesn't matter what gear you have. Or the Snowball Island. Doesn't matter. So there are technically GvG islands where gear doesn't matter.
Okay. Is there any ones that are like straight up PvP based where gear score doesn't matter?
I can't think of any. No? Like I did.
Okay.
We did so far 3 different. We tried two others. We mainly go for the Slime Island S rank. We tried the other two a few times. We got bashed there, even though we were outgearing them. That's one thing which I mentioned earlier. Like, we went in there for one of the lower rank, and we got bashed because there were people who did it like for years, and they know the strategies, tactics, which gear they need to have, and we got bashed, and we have to admit that. So even if you are really experienced in one territory and having a good placement there, if you move over to another territory which has different objectives, prepare yourself. It won't be that easy.
Like, good to know. Good to know. So get some experience on all of them. Okay.
But yeah, there is no actual, like, where you face players with your skills, which is equalized. It used to be like that in season 1. I wasn't a fan of that, to be honest. I really like this current system. In between those two systems, we had the Siege Wars. Ooh, bad experience there.
Okay.
It was you had, I think you could play with more people. I don't even remember. I just deleted it from my memories because I know people liked it because it was such a huge thing with so many different objectives. It really felt like a siege war with machines and stuff like that. But dude, that thing was giving the whales a way higher advantage than the current GvGs do, because it was a huge map. And if you got killed, you had to run to that place way further. You had a higher travel distance or longer travel distance, which means they could snowball into the one-shot kills way easier than on the small islands where you could outmaneuver them way easier. So that's one of those things. You can play those shenanigan tactics to outmaneuver them. It wasn't that easy on the siege battles though. So I'm currently happy with the current GvG system, and I'm a huge fan of thinking, okay, I don't want the actual GvG to be equalized. There will be a lot of people like, no, why you do that, Percy? Why are you against that? Are you a whale too? No, but because I think that's like, you have PvP, you have GvG. PvP is to show your skills, and I'm not good at that. I'm at best average. I have to admit that. Like, if I have to go in there, that's clearly where I'm gonna get beaten. But in terms of GvG, I can play completely different cards. I have the shot call position. I can depend more on my team. It's not more random anymore in the ranked matches, like in the ranked matches. And I want that, besides from skill, I want that you have as a guild a goal and you work towards that, being it the gear or the cards or the other min-max stuff. And you will see the progress as a guild. And I think it's really important that GvG should stay, at least the highest level GvG or ranked GvG should stay gear dependent. The only thing they could do is like making the impact, the gear difference impact a little bit more equalized, but not completely equalized. It should reflect something or most of your progress in the PvE world. Because you actually want to see something there too in the GvG part. If I don't want that, I'm gonna go to Arena.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, that's good. Okay, perfect. I was just double checking because I'd heard a few weeks ago someone said, oh yeah, there's there's one GvG or something that's the gear score doesn't matter, but that they might have been talking about, for example, the Dragon Mario Kart one, which sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. I want to try that. That sounds pretty good. Okay, so your next question I got is GvG available at the start of a server? Do you have any knowledge of that? No?
Not, I mean, I'm like almost sure we won't have it at the beginning. It doesn't make sense to add something like that for several reasons. First of all, the gold reward. Imagine we have GvG on the first week. The guild which gets the first place will snowball it so hard because the gold rewards, even if it's kind of average down to something similar to item, it's still something. It generates gold out of thin air, and that could hurt the economy. So we need to have a stabilized economy before we get the GvG part with gold rewards. That's one point. Another thing is the min-maxing. Of course, if we add it right from the beginning, yeah, it will be hard because even then, people who hardcore or whale will have a huge, way Yeah, they have a huge advantage because they will be further ahead, just because of gear. And the other min-maxing stuff, you won't be able to get that right at the beginning, because those are the things which kind of helps you to narrows the gap between you and the whales. And that would also, once again, if we have the GvG right at the start, play into the hand of the whales, which is why I think we won't have it. I assume we will get it like Japan did. I think they got it like 1 or 2 months after release. It's a solid time to prepare for GvG, get all those things you need beforehand, and talk with your guilds. Hey, where are we going for? These are the guilds. These are the islands. Which is the best one? By the way, I didn't mention that earlier. Depending on your core members and their classes, you can go for different GvGs if you aim for the PvP based GvGs, which I talked about earlier. The higher ranks, they have different objectives. Some of them, in some of those GvG islands, you will shine better with higher mobility classes. On the other one, you will be stronger if you have like brick walls as classes. So it depends on depends on the classes you have available in the guild or of the active GvG players. So you need a little bit of time to prepare for that. So I think a solid time would be to introduce the GvG content would be 1 month or 2 months after release. I hope it's not earlier than that.
Yeah.
Really don't hope.
That's perfect. Again, because it's similar to like the ranked arena. That doesn't come in. My current understanding is that doesn't come in straight at launch, to give people, especially like newer players, that get a chance to kind of get used to PvPing at normals before the rank system comes in. So your bronze, gold, etc. So that's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think they will add it too, but people should definitely do arena. There's a lot of things, especially if you have a lot of new guild members who played other games. They will be still confused by the PvP in Lost Ark, and you need to understand the PvP. And the best way to do it is by doing normal ranked or normal matches, not ranked, sorry, normal arena matches. And then once you know the basics, the bare minimum, then you can try out GvG. I wouldn't advise anyone to skip the arena part and go for GvG, because then you will just watch the sky and be on the ground all the time.
Floor POV, eh?
Yeah.
As I've heard it. So Half-Dev, I'm looking at the comments as well, guys, as well. So Half-Dev, yeah, thank you so much. I know you said about big fans here and stuff, so I appreciate that. Thanks for having the time. We're gonna get to viewer questions. I've got a little list of questions. We're about halfway through my questions or so. We've got a killer one coming up next, by the way, and yeah, then we'll see how we're doing for time and go through some viewer questions. All right, so so yeah, this next question, this is a biggie for a lot of people that I've been talking to about when I was saying we're gonna have this podcast gonna talk about GvG. In your opinion, so this isn't like a proper tier list, but I'm aware that there are classes that are better at GvG. So do you want to go through maybe some of the best classes and maybe a little bit of like why they would be better for GvG than others? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, but there has to be a disclaimer for that, because I'm not a fan of tier lists. I made it, especially a video about why those tier lists, all those content creators, or most of the content creators make, are not accurate for at least the PvE tier list. For the EUNA release, there are several factors, and I also talked with some other veterans who agreed with me on that point. So I don't want to do the same mistake like the other people did for GvG, because currently that's really important. In the last LAON, the BlizzCon for Lost Ark, they mentioned that they're going to rework the PvP system, which will of course reflect in somehow in some degree in the GvG part. So a lot of things will change, and I hope they will change, because there are clearly some classes which have a solid kit for GvG. You can't deny that. They have a lot of skill sets or kits, skill-wise, which gives them an advantage. Obviously, it still depends on the player. You can play whatever class you want, and if you master that class, you can beat someone who is playing a really strong class for this content, but just sucks, okay? That's the truth. You can do that. But if we talk about peak performance, and everyone plays their class at peak performance, there are 100% class out there which are really strong just because of the kits they have. One of them is my all-time nemesis, and one of the reasons why I want to play that class, maybe for at EUNA release, is Soulfist. So, oh god, like whenever there is a small gap between my gear and that guy's gear, one shot, because that class scales so good with spec. A little bit less in tier 1 because once again tier 1, the classes which scale with spec won't perform as well as they do currently in tier 3. That's one of the major reasons why the PvE tier lists are not accurate, because of the substat threshold we have. But beside from that, Soulmaster is amazing. And even if without using any skills, just because of that awakening, that Kamehameha awakening, we can sing stories about how often entire raids or like multiple groups got wiped because of one of that thing from a whale. Like that's a skill which hurts a lot, especially if it's come from a whale / hardcore min-max player. I don't want to call everyone who is high item level a whale, because that's not true. There are people who invest way more time than we do, and they belong there. So we can't blame them for that, because they just like the game. So they should get the rewards for investing that much time into the game. So Soulfist, definitely. We won't have Destroyer. Otherwise, I would have said Destroyer is one of those strong classes for GvG. But we won't have Destroyer, and I think it is one of the classes which will get balanced, especially in GvG or PvP, I guess. So let's wait and see. It might be completely different class. Maybe we're gonna get a Destroyer with, I don't know, a different weapon. Other than Destroyer, let's go down the list. We have Warlord, a solid option. We have in the guild, or we had in the guild, different kind of Warlord specs. We had Warlords who went for damage focused substats and engravings and so on. We had Warlords who went for more defense focused, which plays, of course, into the hands of the kit of what Warlord has, which is pretty strong class. I would say overall, a Warlord who is more towards the defense spec is pretty strong, because you are so hard to get killed if you are not getting outgeared by far from Wales hardcore people. But overall, Warlord has a really good kit. He has so much control. He's not as agile. So in arenas or in GvG islands where you need to be agile, where you need to change the place a lot, he might not be that useful. But on GvGs where you have to hold an objective or stay at the same spot and just get rid of enemies or interrupt them constantly, Warlord is Pog. He is tanky, and at the end of the day, if you go for defense, you will see I often saw Warlords having really high damage, even more than similarly geared DPS class, just because they have a high uptime. So if you are there and you don't die for a long time, obviously you're going to deal damage. And if you're playing a class, you go in, you have such a huge burst, but 5 seconds after going in, you get one-shotted. That's it. So Warlord gets a lot of damage out there because of his tankiness. Then we have not the Summoner anymore, but Summoner. Oh, always the Phoenix from out of the screen, flying towards you, killing, one-shotting you. I don't want to see that, and luckily I won't see that for a while, hopefully. Then I'm not sure about the new class Sorceress. Never played because we got it recently in Russia, and never had the chance to play against someone who leveled up the Sorceress to S rank territory viability. So I don't know how good that class, but I think based on the skill sets it has, it's a backline class, and as long as you have a solid front line, it can be a class which can really perform well. But I have to like confirm that by doing some actual GvGs against or with the Sorceress class. What else do we have? Arcana, my favorite. That's the class I'm waiting for, and it won't be there. Sag, all my favorite class not there, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, Arcana is a hidden gem. You might think, okay, she is squishy, and one of the flaws is she has to go in PvE to go to melee range to deal, or mid range to deal some damage. But in GvG, if you play the Emperor class engraving, play with that class engraving, you can pull that Emperor card, and that deals such a huge amount of damage. You just activate the card, bam, everyone around you in a kilometer AoE takes so much damage if you are decently geared. So that's a really strong class. I enjoy to play Arcana. Of course, if you get caught, rip. Literally paper. Throwing paper, dying like a paper. But you have so much zone control with that class. I'm really excited for that class. I'm really sorry for those people who are waiting for that class. I know, shit, we won't have it on the UNA release. But yeah, it's a really fun class to zone control, especially in S-rank territories. I know I'm squishy, but if there is someone, or if I need someone who needs to interrupt people to getting to the objective, I go there because I can literally do that for quite a long time. I can shock them with one of my skills with a huge AoE skill. I can use my another skill to stagger them. It's pretty easy with Arcana, and she deals so much damage. So she's one of my favorite there too. What else do we have? I don't like blades. I don't know, Reaper's blades. They are pretty strong in arena PvP, but I would say they are kind of in GvG because even if they have the super armor advantage or the mobility advantage in arena, which is why they are so annoying in arena, once they go into a skirmish in a GvG, especially if it's like a 16 versus 16, they can't get out. They don't have the survivability to get out there most of the time. Of course, it's not always a death sentence, but it's really hard for them. So you can perform well with them if you pick your fights properly. So it's not that that easy for them. Same goes for Lancemaster. I hate Lancemaster. If I would go into arena and I see one of those three class, Reaper, Lancemaster, Blade, it's like fuck. Especially because I'm playing classes which are not popular or have barely any super armor. I tried to play War Dancer recently, and she has 0 super armor, and I can't. Like, there is literally like 5 seconds max time to engage on a Blade or a Lancemaster. Every other time I engage, I got knocked down. So yeah. Anyways, but those classes are not really strong in those big high tier GvGs. Hawkeye, Devil, he's in the chat. Oh, Pock, like he's playing amazing with that class, and I think most people don't know that Hawkeye is pretty strong in GvG if played by a really good player. You have to pick your fights properly. You have the advantage of range. You can go invisible. You have the staggers. You have the stuns. It's like we had a tactic around Daryl with Hawkeye, especially around him, sending him to an objective, annoy the enemies, delay them from capturing or claiming the objective, because that was the only class which could do that. And comparing it to the only other class which could go actually invisible, Reaper, it's still better to assign this task to a Hawkeye because he has the range advantage. So which the Reaper doesn't have. Once she commits in, she can get caught, and then it's rip, especially if you face against 4 players. So yeah, Hawkeye is one of the hidden gems, I would say.
Interesting. Okay.
Now there are so many classes. I'm most likely missing some. Help me out there.
What about Blaster?
Oh, how could I forgot about that class, dude? Blaster. So Blaster, I would say easily one of the top. If we are talking about kits, once again, the disclaimer from earlier, it's still not a tier list. It's definitely not a tier list. I'm just talking about the currently available kit for specific islands. And Blaster is the only class which has such a high damage reduction from the class engraving with an unconditional damage reduction. And I know there are some meme, like it used to be meme, but now it's scary. There were blasters who went full defense engravings. And there are some islands where you have to stay on the objective or the hold the mirror. It's one of the S-rank islands, and shoot the beam out of the mirror on the objective to earn points. And if the blaster takes that mirror and he has only defense engraving and you are not getting outgeared, that guy doesn't care. Like, he takes less damage than a warlord with all of his buffs up.
Wow.
It's disgusting. So if you have a lot of blasters in your guild, you can go for those islands. They need to be geared, they need to be min-max, and so on. Of course, if you just blaster is not enough. Yeah. GvG gear. So I guess it's one of the strongest classes, especially because it has the engraving, the class engraving, which adds already a damage reduction to it. The shield, the AoE, it has a really strong kit, and of course the mandatory engraving for every class in GvG, heavy armor. Add that to the class engraving, and you have a tank which is tankier than warlord.
Yeah, Link saying all blaster guild incoming. He said right.
To be honest, it's not a bad idea. Yeah. I wouldn't even laugh about it because I can think of it actually working out pretty well.
Everyone just go blasters. GvG, you're gonna win them all. Heavy armor. Take the right class engraving. Off you go.
Yeah. Off you go. And one day before we get EUNA GvG, it's gonna get nerfed.
Yeah, there'll be a separate like side note on the blaster engraving saying doesn't work for GvG or Rowan, the new continent. Yeah, that'd be quite funny. Okay. What about Gunslinger and Deadeye?
Deadeye, Gunslinger, I'm not quite sure of because I think she can perform better than Deadeye just because she focuses on her rifle. She can focus on rifle skills, so she doesn't have to go into a melee range fight. But I saw also a lot of Devil Hunters. Like, there was a Devil Hunter in the Foxes Guild. I don't know the name. And every time I fought against him, I knew this guy gonna outplay 3 people. Because as long as we were like kind of isolated, once again, those classes which are not strong in GvG, in skirmish, like in large-scale skirmish fights, they can still perform well if they pick their fight properly and know, okay, this many players, I can outplay them. I'm that good. And that guy was good. Literally, I saw him. I was like, guys, this guy gonna outplay us. We need more people. So there was a Devil Hunter like that. And Devil Hunter is such a difficult class, but I think I never will be able to get that enjoyment of this class, but I wish I could play that class well, because I'm pretty sure it's one of the classes which will be pretty fun to play once you master it. It has such an amazing kit. Just feels amazing to watch a really good Devil Hunter outplaying everyone. Even in PvE, that class is amazing if it's played by a really good Devil Hunter. I know one Devil Hunter who always out TPS most of the people I know. Even having less gear, because it's just that amazing. But it's a difficult class, which is why a lot of people don't like to play that class. Gunslinger is way easier in that term. Of course, as I mentioned in my tier list video, or tier list are bullshit video, Devil Hunter will be strong in tier 1 just because the bosses are easier. The positioning is easier in tier 1 and so on. It's not that difficult. They will outperform Gunslingers if played by equally good people. But yeah, both classes, I would say they are solid, but not really top tier. But Zerker, I forgot Zerker, the 2-button class. Yeah, it got updated to a 1-button class, I guess. With the new engraving, it feels like it ranks close to the blaster because he gets the 65% damage reduction. Dude, I don't know, man. I saw Zerkers doing upper shield, surviving mechanics, like 5 hits of a mechanic, which 1 hits my Arcana. It just hurts me, man. It's funny, not funny, but I can think of a lot of situations where that kind of build will be really good in GvG. Didn't have the time to actually, because we don't have that engraving that long in Russia, so I didn't have the time to check out Zerkers playing with that new engraving. But other than that, even before we had that engraving, there were 2 kind of Zerkers. There are actually 2 kind of really good Zerkers in my guild. One is going more offensive, and he's really good. He's also one of our shot callers, and really performs well. And then we have someone else. I was at the beginning kind of skeptical because he went endurance, he had defense engravings, and so on, because I'm not a fan of DPS class going fully defensive except it's blaster. But he was actually good. He was surviving well. He played his cards properly. He didn't focus on dealing damage, chasing out people. Because of his tankiness, he focused on getting the zone advantage, preventing people to get to the objectives. So in GvG, it's not all about at the end screen how many points you had and how much damage you deal. You can combine it to kind of get a evaluation of how well that player played or not. But at the end of the day, if you have shot calls, if you have people who are paying attention, you will realize even with a non-meta build, if that guy is playing the cards correctly, he can be still a valuable asset for that particular fight or entire GvG. So I changed my mind after seeing him performing him well with that weird build. So I guess Zerkers are solid, man. Zerkers are, especially with their awakenings, it's a strong awakening for GvG. No denying there. It's also a really fast one. Can one shot, get zone advantage. So it's a really strong class.
Amazing there. Amazing. Okay, so just having a little look.
The class list,
the
class list is long.
But I was also looking at chat as well. So one of the questions that I had up in a moment, but we'll do it now, was supports. So talking about Bard and Paladin for this, then while we're talking about like what classes are good, etc. Is there any preference that you know of, like what would be better, Bard or Paladin, or are they both amazing? It doesn't matter.
I would say both are. I wouldn't prefer one over another over the other one. Simply because I once again, I can only talk about experience based on what I have from what I have seen so far in GvGs with my guildies. And we had really strong bards. We had bards who went for support. Like we had that debate. Okay, it's something interesting for people who are thinking about going for DPS bard for GvGs and support bards. It's clearly a difference. Subset difference. You will learn that once you play the bard. What is a support bard and what is a DPS useless bard. We had the debate, and we had people. We had a guy going for DPS bard, and we had a guy who was going for support bard. And that guy who went for support bard with high agility, etc., he had such an amazing playstyle. He did more damage than most of the DPS people with his second engraving, with his zone control, etc. He made such clutch awakenings, and he didn't even go for the DPS stats or DPS engraving. He was purely support, and at the same time, he had such a high, low cooldown, high uptime on supportive buffs. He nailed it with his support. And then compared to that, the other guy who actually thought, okay, if I go DPS bard, I will outperform it. That didn't work. He did way less damage. He didn't survive that long because he didn't have the skills available that often, and he wasn't helping us at all. So please play bard support.
Yeah.
As for the current state of the balance state, I would say support bard is the best. And as for Holy Knight, I think you can go for like a hybrid Holy Knight or support Holy Knight for GvG, but it really depends on your team. A Holy Knight is someone who can support a melee team way better because you can engage with them together and you buff them around you. And a bard is like the better choice if you support a team which has a few frontliners, a few backliners. You can just switch between them. Mostly you support the backliners. You have the proper positioning. But it's really better for if you can support them from range. You don't have as much peel or CC control as a Holy Knight. He has that. He's also a little bit more tanky. But Bard is just better in terms of supporting from far and gives your team higher survivability than a Holy Knight gives. Holy Knight is a little bit more towards the aggressive push part, but both are really good in the proper parties. So you make sure you put the Holy Knights into the correct parties with depending on the class represented in that particular party.
Okay, lovely. That any other one? Okay, so yeah, there's things like striker, infighter, demonic, a few more. Is there any more of note that you can think of that would be like particularly good? or have like a really good kit?
I'm watching currently the list of classes, so I would say Scrapper is yes, all the fighter class are except Solfist. Uh, all the other fighter classes are kind of okayish. They shine if you have like small skirmishes, but once it goes into a big, objective based clash between 5+ players, it might get difficult once you once you get caught. It is they have a higher chance of dying there. But I would say there are like once we get we had in Russia or in season 1 in tier 2 a gear set which boosted spec by 50% if I remember correctly. During that time, scrappers went there, just knocked you down, one-shotted. Went to the next opponent, knocked you down, one-shotted. They scaled so hard on that
Wow.
on spec, so it was terrifying to see a scrapper there. But I would say all of them are kind of okay. They are not really bad, but I wouldn't say they have a really strong kit for a large-scale skirmish in GvG.
Okay.
Let me check we talked about Hawkeye, the Gunner class. We talked about all the majors. Oh, Demonic.
Mm-hmm.
Demonic is the only one we are missing so far.
Yes.
Demonic depends on the enemy team. So if the enemy team has a lot of stagger focus classes, if you're in demon form, you don't care. Okay, that's clearly an advantage you have. You are kind of stagger immune. You scale pretty well with spec. Once again, that doesn't work well in tier 1. If you where we have not that much points to allocate towards spec, so she will not perform as well as she would do with a higher spec build. But she is still strong because she doesn't have to go in always. You can change the build to be more mid-range, more range. Of course, once you have the demon form, you can pick your fights. So you can kind of change between those stances. I think she is a little bit better than the previously mentioned the fighter classes, but still not like they're at the position where artillerist. Sorry, I'm calling it blaster. I need to get used to calling that class artillerist.
I do the same. It's fine.
Yeah, I really don't like those new names, by the way. Artillerist, destroyers, Zerker, warlord, summoner. Yeah, those classes are pretty much have really strong kits, and Demonic is not up there, but above the fighter classes except Solfist, but below the other one. Yeah.
Perfect. That I told you there was a good question coming, everyone. That was amazing information. And yes, of course, as Percy said, right, anything can change. Balance changes can happen. Now with the new continent that's just come out, Rowan, in KR, that has a lot of open world PvP, I can kind of see like a lot of similar gearing and stuff happening from the GvG can be taken into that because it's PvE and stuff. I think it's kind of equalized, and I've seen it a little bit on it, but I need to look a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I would say we shouldn't care about that. We shouldn't pick any classes or no one should pick a class based on tier 3 content yet, or anything further than that. It's a huge mistake. Once again, it's similar to the PvE tier list based on tier 3 and content like that. Once we get to that content, the game might be in season 3 with a whole different balance patch, a whole different system. So I wouldn't recommend even what we just talked about. It's literally something which Smilegate can change with one patch, and that's actually not bad because they are trying to do their best. And those classes I listed have a strong kit for those particular content. And if they want to even out the odds for all classes, they have to somehow balance it. Those classes have a stronger kit because they have a higher survivability, higher uptime on super armor at the same time. Stuff like that. So, of course, you can try to pick a class based on some of those factors, but don't pick it solely depending on those contents, which we won't have for the next 6-7 months in the EUNA. I wouldn't recommend that. At the end of the day, it's all about enjoying your class, which makes you play the game for longer, and not picking a class and waiting for 6 months to do a content which you might enjoy with that class.
Well said. Well said with that. So, yeah, is this the first time Percy's ruining his face? I can answer with confidence. Yes! It is. So, thank you so much for the face review as well, by the way. And engravings. So, engravings is the next one because Lucas said, what are the best engravings for GvG? So, next question. So, yeah, do you want to? We've touched on heavy armor being really strong, but are there any others of note you want to talk about?
So it depends. Most of the class is going to go for one of the class engraving. Obviously, no brainer. It also depends on the class engraving if you want to have it level 3 or not. That's one of those things. For agility-based classes, most of the people go for Blitz Commander because most classes try to get agility. It matters a lot. The cooldowns, the mobility to escape is really strong, or it's really important for GvGs to survive and to get to proper positioning or moving around, flanking, and so on. And Blitz Commander gives you additional damage, so it's not, the movement speed is not wasted. Cursed Dole is pretty strong. Forget about Grudge. Please don't take Grudge. It doesn't work. Cursed Dole is pretty strong because, the combat items are limited anyways. Healing potions are limited anyways. If you want to, you use purple pots. If you want to go for higher rankings, you have to use purple pots. And I know if you have Cursed Dole, you will heal less, but that doesn't matter because you have only so many healing pots. Once you run out of those, Cursed Dole is still such an amazing damage boost for what it is. So it's one of the really strong engravings. Spirit Absorption is strong because if you are playing a spec class, you can use it to have some kind of faster animation, fast mobility. Then you have Indomitable Will. I don't know the name for it on the EUNA version. Mm-hmm. It's the engraving which gives you damage reduction once you are knocked down. I think it's the Indomitable Will. So it makes sense, right? Because once you get engaged, you will mostly get knocked down, and then you take less damage, so you can survive maybe that CC and get out of it. So that has such a huge. You get a lot of benefits out of that engraving. Oh, it's called Disrespect. What is this? Oh, Disrespect is the engraving which deals more damage the lower the HP of the enemy is. I'm not a fan of this. I don't even know if it works really like that. Because like if you have someone low HP on the ground, most people die there. I'm not sure if it's really that good. So I would avoid picking engravings which are too conditional if it's in the offense part. So they have to have low HP to deal more damage. It doesn't work all the time. Cursed Dole applies always. So you have your damage boost. On the defensive stuff, once again, the Indomitable Will, where you are on the ground or have damage reduction once you're on the ground, there are also counterplays to that. So basically, the enemy, once you knock him down, you're going to get damage reduction, right? So what do? You don't knock him down, you freeze him. So we had a meta where everyone had Indomitable Will, and we countered it by using freeze grenades. So we froze someone and literally took out his one engraving of which he was using, and just did the damage without any damage reduction to him. So that's one of the ways to counter it. But most people won't do that. So it's still a lot of people, the first thing they do is knock down someone. And that's bad, by the way. You try to properly chain if you have the chance, if you have the time. You try to go from lower CC to higher CC. You stagger as long as possible. Then you have them jiggling around in the air as long as possible, and then on the ground. Because once they're on the ground, they can spacebar out. It's a huge mistake what a lot of people do. First thing they do, knock down. Bam. When that guy escapes, it's a mobility class. He will run away, wait for his spacebar to get back, and then he can re-engage and do the same again. While we are at it, don't do that. Communicate with the guildmates if you have the time. If you stagger them, especially if you are a warlord, just hit them with the spear, stagger them so that your teammates can cast their abilities and use that opportunity to actually kill the player and not give him the chance to escape. Back to the engravings. So we have the class engravings: Heavy Armor, Spirit Absorption, Blitz Commander, Indomitable Will. There is one more engraving. I'm not a fan of Goddess Protection it doesn't have that much uptime, but it can be used in a full defense build. Then we have the engraving, which is, I forgot the name. It reduces the damage you take the lower your HP is. So it can be clutch too, especially if your class has a lot of HP. So it is active for a longer time. So that's good too. And then, of course, you have the new engravings, which heals you once you are low HP. So we are talking about a lot of defense engravings, but don't forget, you shouldn't focus too much on defense engraving, except from the heavy armor if you are a damage dealing class, because then you won't be able to kill anyone. Literally, won't be able to kill anyone, and it's just going in, wasting your stuff, and they will kill you over time anyways. Except if you're a blaster, you go full ham on this.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Basically, every unconditional damage increase engraving is good, especially if it benefits you in terms of attack speed and so on. Crit chance is something which is nice to have, but I wouldn't put it up really high there, because there is, as far as I know, there is a malus, the crit damage is reduced a little bit on PvP side. Might be only on arena. I'm not sure. I was never I saw people performing well with not much crit at all, and going for other substats, especially subdue. Subdue is pretty strong. No brainer for most people.
Yeah.
Spec depends on the class and so on. Other engravings. There are so many new engravings with crit chance, attack damage bonus. If it's an engraving which needs to be stacked up, I wouldn't recommend that, because that means you can pick it if it's a class which is literally most of the time in a fight, so you can keep up the buff, so you get a value out of it. But if it's an engraving like adrenaline, where you have to hit the enemy 6 times to get the most out of it, I wouldn't recommend that, because if you are playing such a class, you have to get those 6 shots out to get the value out of the engraving, and it's not always the case. But if it's the case with your class, you can go for those stacking engravings too. But once again, the most important thing is get heavy armor, get your class engraving, Curse Dole, Spirit Absorption. Those are like one of the better choices.
Perfect. How about there's one, I think it's one of the new ones, I'm not sure, it's called Near Death. So if you die, if you go, no, does it not work?
No? It works, but the cooldown, I think it has a massive cooldown, right?
It's 15 minutes, 12 minutes, then 9 minutes. I remember I actually read it earlier because I was just curious about it.
Even 9 minutes in a GvG situation. So you die, okay? And you will die a lot if you depend on which class you play. And dying is not bad as long as you compensate it with helping with the objectives or dealing your part in that stuff. Once again, dying is not bad as long as you fulfill your objective. And near death. So basically, you survive. Let's say someone sees you down and kills you. And then while you're standing up, you get the benefit of the near death, get healed, okay? And you still have to get away. So before you get away, you already lost half of your HP, most likely. And then you have a 9-minute cooldown, which means for 9 minutes, you have literally 1 less engraving. So once again, those are conditional engravings which won't help you throughout the entire fight, similar to adrenaline or Goddess Protection. I think that engraving has also a pretty long cooldown. But Curse Dole, even if it has a huge malus, it's active all the time and it does need to be stacked up. Same goes for a Spirit or Blitz Commander. They give you the benefits all the time, and there is no time where, or at any given time, you have the benefit. There is no, I can't think of a time where you don't have the benefit of that engraving. And that's the case for, that's not the case for near death. So I wouldn't recommend that one.
I just thought it was an interesting one. You jump into the middle load of people, get off a couple of kills, get CC, died, come back up full health. But yeah, no, you're right. It makes perfect sense what you're saying. So
yeah, I would say ambulance. I think ambulance is the one which heals you too if you're low HP, right? If I remember correctly. And same reason. I think it has also a long cooldown. So not sure about that, but if it has similar cooldowns or even above 5 minutes, it's not worth it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so we've gone through engravings, and you also went through gear basically in that. Is because you're talking about like the substats. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of gear? Like maybe is there any set bonuses that are particularly really good, or anything we should be going looking at?
Set bonuses, UNA don't care because tier 1 is you don't have that many options. In tier 3 we have a set which is really strong in GvGs. So people tend to switch to that set, and luckily it's that easy to switch from PvE to PvP set. You don't lose anything, and you can switch back your enchantment to your main PvE set. So there is that kind of play later on, but don't worry about that at tier 1. So set effects are not a game changer at early game like that. Substats, of course, you need to get the proper substats, which means most likely if you're committed to GvG, you have to get accessories especially catered towards GvG with the proper engravings, proper substats, which gonna cost you gold. So once again, you always need to invest something to get the rewards. And even if you fight on S rank territory, you have to use better combat items to get a little advantage. You sacrifice a lot of gold beforehand and hope for a return. And as long as you perform well or even learn and get better over time, you will get that back. But if you don't commit at all, if you don't invest anything, you can't expect to get a lot back.
Yeah. Okay, no, perfect. Okay, that's really good info there. So, gone through that question there. There's only a few left I've got, guys, before we potentially look into a few viewer questions, all right? So, the next one I had is what are the guilds? So, there are guild spells / skills that you can use. Are there any that are particularly good, or do you want to just give a little bit of information about like what they are? Because they use mana crystals. Like just a little overview about that system. Is that okay?
Just remember, let me add something to the gearing before we move to this question.
Sorry,
I just remembered. There is also the PvP badge. So that's actually a good system because that PvP badge, you can get it by trading it for honor tokens. I think it's called honor tokens or PvP tokens. Those are the tokens you get by doing the arena PvP. So if you exchange that, you can get a blue PvP badge. You have to have a specific PvP rank for it. So obviously you need to do PvP, and it can get upgraded to up to artifact level. Of course, for that you have to do a lot more PvP. It is not the rank you need from ranked PvP. It's not the MMR. It's the normal PvP rank, which you just climb up just by doing PvP. It doesn't matter if you die all the time and if you lose all the time. But that's a good system because that badge gonna give you a small but not a neglectable advantage. It's going to give you damage reduction, some other survivability stuff, which is nice to have and might be the deciding factor in some GvGs. For that, you have to do PvP, which is great. As I mentioned, you need to learn the basics of PvP to master GvG. So people are if you want to min-max, are kind of forced to do PvP arena, learn about it if they want or not. It happens just passively. And then they unlock the badge. And that's one of the things to prepare. While we are at it, once again, cards. There is a GvG card set combination. I talked about that in my card set video. To make it short, it's the Shurshire set, the 3 sets, and the Tortoik 3 set card. If you combine those, you have a really strong defensive card set. That's the preferred card set for GvGs, and that's something you can prepare and get leveled up before we even get the GvG content, and you should do that. We invested as a guild like months. We camped the merchant spawn spots, which can have those cards for months, and just to get the basic effects, it was such a pain. But it's worth it. It's worth it. So once again, back to the investing time and resources to get the little advantage. It will be worth at the end. Yeah, now we can go back to the question. What was the question again?
Sorry, it's okay. Can I just going on with those cards? What do those card effects do? You said there was 2: the Shushai one, the Tortoik one. What do they do? I'm
locked in my game. It's easier to check. I forgot all the sets. So
it's fine. Take your time.
The Shurshire one is so once you have the 3 card set effect, you take 12% less damage once you're below 50% HP. And once you unlock the 9, like once you level it up and get a total of 9 levels on those 3 cards, you will have an additional 16%. So in total, you have 28% damage reduction once you're below 50% HP. So that's a lot.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
And then we have the Tortoise set. That's a no-brainer too. The basic set effect is that you heal 15% more from your consumables, your potions. So that kind of counters the Cursed Doll, right? So Cursed Doll reduces the heal. This one counters it. So you're pretty much kind of even, okay? And then the 9th set effect is 10% plus magic and physical defense. So once again, it's a purely survival-based one, but it's not a neglectable advantage you get there.
Yeah, that's really big. That's really
big. While we're at it, I can also check the artifact badge. When taking damage, reduces all damage taken by 15% for 8 seconds. So once I take damage, I will take for 8 seconds 15% damage, less damage, and it has a cooldown of 40 seconds. So it has actually a really high uptime. And it also increases attack speed, reduces cooldown, and that effect can stack. So yeah, it's pog to have the badge.
That is really pog. Okay, yes. Okay, get your cards, guys. Get your engravings sorted. Get the right substats. Get that one there, and then go full defense blaster, full guild, and then you're gonna win. Right? That's what we've learned so far. Amazing. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, so the next one was about the guild skills that you can use. The overview of that, like when you would use them and what they kind of do. You want to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. So that's one of those things you have to be careful of. So as you mentioned, guild skills use mana crystals. Mana crystals, you obtain them by converting the guild currency in your storage into mana crystals. But at the same time, guild currency is also needed to apply for GvGs and GvEs. So, and it's also needed to reroll your guild quest. So always make sure that you have, if you are committed for GvG, that you have enough guild crystals in your storage to convert it into mana crystal to use your guild abilities, and never get below the minimum amount required for the islands to register for the islands. So you have to pay a small price to register for the islands. It's not much. You can get it in like a few days. If you have 30 plus guild members who do their daily stuff, you get it in like 1 or 2 days. It's not that hard, but it might be the case if you really fuck up on the last hour where you can register for GvG and you brain AFK spend your guild currency to get some mana, and then you are like, oh shit, I can't apply for GvG. Guild message. Sorry guys, I fucked up. No GvG this week.
Yeah. Amazing.
So for the skills, I would say attack and defense buff, they are pretty strong depending on which GvG. You have to pick the skills alone are not that good if you are not synchronizing it or communicating it well with your teammates and give them proper shot calls according to the skills you're going to use or you will be able to use in specific situations. So once again, having the skills is not enough. You have to use it at the proper timing. So beside from attack and defense buff, we have the silence. Silence is a game changer if you use it properly. You have to be close to the enemies. So enemies around your teammates will get silenced. So you have to have people close to them. So you call them, okay, guys, go in, and I'm going to use silence. And then once they're surrounded by enemies, bam, silence. They can't do anything. It can be used to kill the people, use the time to kill the people, or get the zone advantage. You have 2 ways there to do that. For example, if you have an objective and it's literally blocked in a narrow path and the enemy team is defending it and not letting you go through them, you just need to send 1 or 2 tanky guys into there, silence them, and then you can push through. And then you can attack them, flank them from both sides, and make them do some wrong calls or bad calls and abuse that. So it's a strong engraving. There's the slow. I'm not a fan of it because you can panacea it, one of the combat items, and just the slow bombs. the slow skill literally wastes mana. I would like, if I have to choose, I would always choose attack, defense, or the silence. There are a few others. Like at some point, you will level up every guild skill, because you have to have a guild skill research active so that guild members can donate something to it and they get additional contribution. So if you don't have an active research going on, you take away a part from the daily donations. Guild members can contribute and contribute towards the guild and get something back at the same time. So at some point, you will have everything maxed out. And oh yeah, I nearly forgot about that. Invincible. So it doesn't last long. So we have currently it on level 4. It's going to give us roughly 3.5 seconds invincible frame. So we won't be able to get hurt at all. That's something you can use to clutch objectives. Either silence or invincible, both can be used to ignore the enemy completely and focusing on the objective, getting the zone advantage, or literally killing them without taking any damage. But if you use it in the wrong time or at the wrong moment, it's just thrown away skills and mana crystals. So those are the 4 top skills I would recommend to level up. But you won't have the luxury at the beginning to go only for those, because there are also other research which are important for the guilds, like the guild shop research, the guild quest research, which going to give you higher level guild quests, unlock more guild quest slots. Those are, I would say, kind of more important than just focusing on the guild or GvG based skills. I already see some German guys writing there.
Yeah. Okay, well, I can't read German. Can you read it?
Yeah, he said, "What's going on, Percy?"
Ah, nice. Well, welcome, everybody. Yeah, I'm okay. So, anything else you want to add to the guild skills?
Yeah, not really, because those are really the strongest one. If you have the luxury to research one of the guild skills, then choose for one of those. Once again, consider, like, take notes of your of the GvG island you're going to go for, and think about which of those will be the most useful in a lot of situations. And based on that, sometimes it's better to level up the silence before the attack one or the defense one, because it has just a huge return in that particular situation, on that particular island.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the last question I had then was to do with the S rank islands. So, because as you mentioned before, there's different ranks for different islands, but there's something I heard that you can do. You can actually do events, right? Where if you own an S ranked island, so if you're the guild leader who's because this is a top tier stuff. So what events can you do as a guild leader when you own an S ranked island?
I never owned that one, but
one day. Coming.
A huge dream. But that's a huge reward you're gonna get if you are, like, addition to the gold you get for your placement as the first guild in an S rank territory. It's already a lot of gold. You get also gold once you have done the event. Okay, so you sacrifice some mats to start the event, and that event is in a day or in a week. Like, you choose a day in the week, and you as a guild leader choose obviously the day where the most people on the server are going to be active, because it really depends on how many people participate on the event, and depending on that you get more. So you want to cater towards prime time of the server, and people will do that even because it's going to give you ability stones and a lot of other min-maxing stuff, a little bit of gearing related stuff. So people will join that, and you obviously want to make sure that a lot of people join there. And once a lot of people participate, you're going to get, like, I don't know, I think it was like 100k gold or something. It could be more, yeah.
Wow.
So it's a lot. It's for sure a lot of gold. But of course, you split it between your guildies. If you bank that into your personal account as a guild lead, I think that's the last GvG you had.
Yeah, everyone's like, see ya. Enjoy the island while you've got it. I'm going to go join another guild and take it from you.
So that's the thing why people should go for GvG. Of course, you're going to have to go through those whales. But at the end of the day, as I mentioned, if you if you're a hardcore player, if you min max, you can beat the whales. If the whales are whales plus hardcore plus min maxers, it will be difficult because that's a dangerous combination. But for that, everyone needs to be like that in that guild. So it's even higher. It's 250k even. 100k for placement. Thanks to you, Daryl. 250k. So imagine that. Imagine that.
What? Oh my god, rich.
I'm pretty like, I think for us in EUNA it might be less because it's 250k is way more for us on EUNA economy in a tier 1 situation than what it is currently on RU. So I hope it will be a little bit less adjusted towards our situation in UNA, but it's still a lot. So that's the benefit you have. You can pick a time and a day for an event which is for everyone on the server, not only your guildies, and based on how many people participate, you get that much back. So yeah.
That's it. So I know you said you're logged into game. Just another thing, because I know you can bring up the UI for it. The gold that you get for like first place, second place, third place. If you were to just pick like an S rank island, just so guys in chat can know, because I know you get gold for like at least the first, maybe like the top 3 or the top 5 guilds. You get gold, and then after that you don't. Do you? Have you got any figures there?
Yeah, so on the S rank island, if you are first place, you get 100k gold flat, okay? That's besides from the extra gold you're going to get from the event. So once again, it's a lot, dude. Second place, you get 80k gold. Third place, you get 60k, fourth place 40, and fifth place 30, and then below you don't get any gold anymore. Just to compare it, okay? Once again, fifth place on an S rank gives you 30k gold. Now let's compare it with an B rank island. In B rank island, which is 2 ranks below, so we have S, A, and then D, the first place gets 50,000 gold. So it's just 20k more than what you get. Like, if it wasn't it 30k? I guess it was 30k on the fifth place. Yeah. It's just 20k more. So you get a lot more in the higher ranked island, even if you're not first place. But if you get first place on a B rank island, it's still better than being fifth place on a S rank island.
That's it. Wow, that's a lot of gold though. I have to give a shout out here as well, Percy, because Sivo in the house. So hi Sivo, good to see you,
What's
my
up,
friend.
Man?
What's up? Welcome in, man. Had to say hi to the legend Percy. Yes, absolutely, and the face reveal as well. So absolutely amazing. But how's it going, my friend? And hey everybody. So yeah, okay, so that's pretty much it there. There was one other thing I just wanted to ask. It came to my head before we open up to some questions from you guys. Anything you want to ask, right? There was something someone said, because can you use the invisibility items in GvG?
It used to be a game changer back then. We had so many shenanigan tactics with that. There were people capturing objectives while being invisible. But luckily, it doesn't work like that anymore.
Right, okay, because somebody said to me, like, just go Sulphus, go invisible, and cast an ultimate while you're invisible, and then it wouldn't show it while you were casting. You wouldn't come uninvisible while you were casting. It'd be like as like the spirit bomb was coming down, or the Kamehameha, as you said. I don't know enough about that.
I think there is a cape which makes you invisible for players, but I'm not sure if it still works on GvG. To be honest, I never saw someone using it in the last few months at all. And if it was a game changer, people would have used it for sure, because people tend to use that in tier 1. Once again, in tier 1, it was a different kind of GvG. Each team had like two kind of like a flag to capture. You defend yours and try to capture the enemies or destroy the enemies by channeling. And then you literally have to pay attention to the channel bar on the top of the screen, because people could just stay close to you and try to capture it while being invisible. So once you saw the bar going down, you're like, oh, guy, throw something at there. There's someone capturing. So I don't think it still works.
Right, okay, no worries. Now, this face reveal is huge. More than 3 years and never seen Percy's face. There we go. We have it. We have the face reveal. Okay, so that's it from my question. Before I just go into anything that anybody from chat wants to ask, is there anything you want to add, Percy, from anything, or any like random tips that come to mind?
Random tips. please don't use heavy armor for PvE. Please don't do that. If you are not playing a support, don't do that. If anyone tells you to use heavy armor for PvE, no, fuck that. Get used to Grudge. Get used to Grudge. It might not be the second choice for your class, but it should be definitely the third choice for your class, beside from class engraving, and there might be some other engravings which are strong at the beginning, and then you go for Grudge. But Grudge is one of the, if not the best engraving besides from class engravings for PvE content. And I don't want to see people using heavy armor in end as a damage dealer in end content in PvE. I know it hurts. I am playing a paper class, and it is frustrating to get one-shotted while tanky classes survive the same skill. But I think if you learn to play with Grudge at the beginning, where the enemies are easy to predict or the movements are easy to predict, it will make it easier to dodge the abilities later on in endgame, where movement gets more complicated. I know a lot of people, I had to have like hours-long conversation to explain them why heavy armor is shit for PvE. If you are a damage dealer, I will literally make a guide about this, because it matters to me a lot. It matters to a lot of people that you don't take heavy armor as a damage dealer. A lot of people use they say, okay, if I have Grudge, I die faster. If I'm dead, there's 0 damage, right? And if I have heavy armor, I survive longer, so I can deal more damage. That's what they say, but no, that's not really true, because by taking heavy armor and not taking Grudge, or just taking heavy armor and just getting rid of one entire engraving which could have helped you to deal more damage, you are literally fucking up your teammates, because you don't do as much damage as you could have done, which extends the fight. So if you are good at dodging and you min-max on damage, the fight will be shorter, which means the boss has less opportunities to use skills or use any weird mechanics, which are not like set mechanics, of course. So you save combat items, your teammates save combat items, you clear the content faster, you save time, which is also valuable. But if you choose to go for the defensive option, just because you are comfortable with that and you don't care about your teammates, at the end you will still use more combat items, or you will have more failed tries, because you might lack the damage, and your teammates have to compensate for that with their time and with their combat items. So it's I would say, pretty egoistic choice to go for heavy armor and not going for Grudge. Once again, I know it's going to be painful to play Grudge. It will be painful at the beginning, but you will get used to it, and you need to get used to it to do better later on.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's two things I can kind of add on to this. Because in tier 1, you don't need to optimize too much for the content. In tier 2 a bit more, and in tier 3 when you hit Legion Rage you need to optimize a lot more, especially when fights take longer. The enrage timer is what gets you. That's the massive thing. So if you go for defensive engravings and things and taking endurance as your stats, and the fight goes on too long, the boss enrages and is pretty much guaranteed to wipe you. I have seen people clutch it. I've clutched things when the boss is just enraged, but they gain a bit of health. They have like 4 times the damage and like double the attack speed or something similar to that. It's crazy. So yeah.
No. Yeah, but someone just Aiden wrote, no heavy armor allowed. Oh, you can use it as a support. Supports can cheese it. They are allowed to do that.
Yeah, that's it. But hey, Eden. So question from Regal. Let's jump into this. So will it be worth to push for GvG dominance when EU and NA will be in tier 1 content for a while? Tier 2, he's put eye level gear, will quickly make min/max tier 1 eye level gear obsolete, from my understanding. So
okay, so if you want to purely go for GvG right from tier 1, you have to take the risk. So of course, I'm pretty sure there will be way more guilds in UNA interested in the GvG part, even more than in Russia, because that's just the UNA mentality. We will also see a lot of cries there because of that, because of Wales, or that's going to happen. I'm trying to prepare myself for that. But it's a huge risk because a lot of people will do the same. And especially if you push further than the efficient item level, like once again, if you, just as an example, if you have everything on plus 15, you are good to go. Once you get the next content, you can push your item levels faster than you could have done if you tried to get to plus 16, plus 17 on your tier 1 content gear. You literally waste, you are inefficient in terms of gearing or item level progress. But you take the risk because you assume you will get first, second place over a few months, and that will give you the gold back. But you have to get those placements. If you don't get those placements, if you don't min-max enough, if you don't have the highest or the proper gear, then it will be it might have been a poor choice to go for that and just throwing gold out of the window. But as you said, once we get tier 2, the people who transition into tier 2 and push their gear will bash on you, even if you have tier 1 gear on plus 18, plus 19, stuff like that. I'm not sure. I think there is a lower cap for tier 1 gear than we have in tier 3 currently.
Right, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it's not efficient, but you have to take the risk. And for my part, I will take the risk though, because I enjoy that content. And one thing I forgot to mention is GvG is something which most of the people in the server won't even care about. Like there will be, as mentioned, there will be more people playing GvG or focusing on GvG compared to Russia, but it still will be less than the majority of the player base, because it's just such a content just for one day of a week, and a lot of people think like, I don't care, and it's okay. And for those people, it's a game which is unaffected by whales, and that's what I mentioned earlier. It's definitely pay to win. It's definitely whale based if you are GvG focused. If we are talking about GvG, if you don't care about GvG, it's not.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool, guys. Is there any more questions? Have you guys seen? Andy's saying, who is Percy? Who is Tea Party Percy? The man, the legend, right? So he's another streamer, content creator. Tea Party is his YouTube channel name. Let me just grab his link up and I'll put it for you in Twitch chat, because it's in the description in my YouTube stream, since I'm multi-stream. Let me just grab that there. So cancel.
While you're doing that, I just saw Sivo asking something. 2 questions. What class will you play? Okay, so I'm not sure, Sivo. To be honest, I'm waiting for Arcana. Okay, so my approach is, which class can I play, which will be strong in PvE, doesn't need as much gold, doesn't use as much consumables, and at the same time, it's good in PvP and GvG. First choice currently is Gunlancer, no brainer. Literally doesn't need the really expensive engravings, doesn't use as much pots as other classes, and has a huge value with less min-maxing compared to other classes. But at the same time, I don't enjoy arena PvP with Gunlancer, with the current classes in there, with that much agility, super armor. So it's at the other side, the opposite side, I enjoy PvP doing with War Dancer and Soulfist. Fun. Even if those 2 classes are not really strong in current PvP meta, with the super armor agility meta of Blades and Lance Masters, they are fun. Like even with those classes, I don't care if I lose. You can still enjoy the match even if you lose. But it's not the case for Gunlancer. It just feels like I'm doing nothing there. Just trying to chase the people all day long, and they knock me down, and then I have to get to my teammates, and then my teammates split up in 2 different directions, and I'm like the child who has to pick between the mother and the dad, and whoever I pick, the other one will be mad at the end of the day. So to make it short, I'm not sure. I think it will be either Gunlancer or Soulfist. If I go for Soulfist, my PvE part won't be that good. But if I go for Gunlancer, my PvP part won't be that good. For the second question, how long do you think we should be in tier 1 and considering the amount of speed of progression? Okay, for as far as I know, we won't have that island boost which we had in the EUNA beta, which is great. That was too fast. For a free-to-play players, like the best scenario would be if those people would get enough time to get to that item level, the minimum item level required, to immediately transition into tier 2 once we get it. And that's the sweet spot which they mostly nailed it in the other regions, especially in Korea. And I hope they will nail it too in UNA. I hope they won't rush it too fast. I know a lot of free-to-play players, a lot of players in general wish we would have tier 3 content, but be aware of the fact if you have from the start tier 2 or too fast tier 2 and tier 3, the gap between a casual player and a hardcore or a whale, whatever the reason is, will be so big, and we will have people distributed or divided by a lot of different guardians and content. So it will be harder to find people to play with, especially if you're playing alone. It will be harder to fight against hardcore players or whales in GvG territories because they can just go to the end, and your pleb progress, you have to take the small steps. So trust me, it's better for everyone if we don't get tier 2 too fast. And it should always depend on the majority of the server that they are at a comfortable place to transition into the next content as soon as it drops.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's pretty good. I feel, because I mean, I was talking with you, Percy, like during beta and stuff about the speed of progression. And we got some information together, and I made a video saying that I thought it was too fast in beta. I thought it was crazy fast. But I mean, like, that's part of my plan. My plan is to have like 3-4 characters ready on that borderline, at the end of tier 1 when tier 2 is coming, so that I can push all of them immediately into tier 2. And then the same thing when we go from tier 2 to tier 3, have them all there. So I think tier 1 is like 600 item level when everything's at plus 15. I think. So it might be that to go straight into tier 2, and then 1100 to go straight into tier 3. Again, all plus 15. So that's my opinion as well, anyway. Feel that'd be good. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that?
While we are at it, the recent changes they made, making the extra loot box gold based. There are a lot of videos about that already. I didn't even bother to watch all because they labeled it as soon as they get any changes to gold, it's pay to win. I don't know why people don't think about the overall situation. So the gold change, in addition to limiting people to a specific amount of alts by reducing the max dailies you can do or weeklies you can do on your legacy account, that's a huge advantage for casuals, which is the majority. I know I don't belong to the casual. I belong to a little bit higher to not hardcore, but between. And for those people who are hardcore, whales don't care. It doesn't affect whales at all. So it's not like, I don't think it's going to give whales an advantage at all. But it's going to definitely hurt the players who are hardcore and have like 12 alts, 3 accounts on each, because they used to do farm all day long gold. But at the end of the day, that caused gold inflation, and that was a huge issue. So to counter that, they made those 2 changes, and I agree it was a solid choice to make that. And if you think about it, it's actually something which is going to help the casuals. First of all, no gold inflation, so the gold which casuals get by using the bare minimum time they have is worth more, and they have to do less. Like, they don't have to do the weekly the abyss raids 3 times. They have to do it once. So they save a lot of time, and they still get a lot of rewards. Like, you get more rewards than you used to get per run when we still had the 3 runs limit. That's another thing. And the limiting the alts is once again a step towards the casuals, helping them, because literally, like, I even hate alts, okay? And I have a little bit more time than the casual. And I don't like to have a lot of alts because it feels like work, and I want to enjoy the game. So I think at peak time I had for 1 month 1 main and 1 alt, and I did dailies for that. And then I got bored of it. So I was like, no, it feels like work already. So I will enjoy the one class And even if you are like, even if you decide to have alts as a casual, based on the time, you don't want to log into the game, do the dailies, and be done with it because you don't have much time left as a casual. So I think this is definitely helping the casuals and also preventing gold farmers from making thousands of accounts with thousands of alts and producing gold, which once again leads to inflation. So those things are great changes for the majority, and that change hurts the hardcore people more than the casuals, which is, once again, we have to admit it, hardcore and whales are this big compared to the casuals in EUNA. We have a higher casual player base than hardcore or whales.
Yeah, with that, amazing. So yeah, I really like the gold changes they make as well, because if you've got like, I don't know, 10 characters, 12 characters, even more, and you just want to farm Argos every single week on all of them, and then you can get so much gold. And again, the gold inflation it's too much. So I think it was really positive change. I love the low on and all the stuff they announced. Oh my god, it blew me away. I'm still processing all the information.
Yeah, it's so much. When you played other MMORPGs before, where you got like in 6 months one skill change as a patch, it's that's one of the reasons why I know the Lost Ark is not a perfect game. Anyone who tells you it's a perfect game is lying. Okay, that's the truth. It has its flaws. It has the GvG part, of course. It's pay to win to a certain degree. It's definitely pay to win. You can't deny that. But it's the full package. It's amazing game, and then you have Smilegate, which is by far one of the best developers, publishers I saw so far. I played a lot of MMORPGs. The content push, the content try, not giving up, admitting to their mistakes. That's a quality which you don't see in a lot of other Western developers or publishers nowadays.
Yeah, it's insane. It's incredible. I love the fact that they did their promises. They had like 80 something promises, and they delivered 77. I can't remember the exact number. Maybe someone from chat knows. But it was maybe call it like 82 promises or 83 promises they made, and they delivered on 77. That was like for the whole of last year. They did so many. That's incredible. I thought it was
yeah. I'm just reading the message. Someone was planning to make all 6 charts to farm gold. Obviously, that was one of the ways, and now he can't do that because of the change. That's what I meant. I totally agree. From your point of view, it's a bad change, of course, because you could have gotten more gold. But at the same time, adding so much more gold resource or like contents where you can indefinitely make just alts and alts and alts, make an account and 12 alts again, and then farm gold. It's going to lead to the inflation which was happening in Korea. And as soon as those changes were announced, it went already back to kind of towards normal. So that you can see based on the reaction, based on the economy changes happening there, that it was overall a good choice. But of course, once again, from your point of view, it is bad. But the majority of the server, which definitely won't have 6 alts. Once again, casuals are the majority. We have to admit that, and it would be stupid of a developer or a publisher to cater content towards hardcore players, because we are not that many, or whales. We are not that many. A game survives with the casuals. Sadly, the case. It wasn't like that for 6-7 years. Before 6-7 years, it was different. We had only hardcores, but nowadays casuals matters, and it would be stupid if the developers or publishers don't take their position in mind and make changes just catering towards alts and so on. So casuals who can only barely do 2-3 alts, they will like this change, and they should appreciate it. And because of all those misleading information, a lot of new players who will be casual, they don't understand the effect of it, and they think, oh, that hardcore guy says it's pay to win. Oh, it has to be pay to win, right? So it really hurts to see people having opinion based on some people with unique perspective or unique positions. Even if that doesn't apply to them, they just soak it in and take it for granted and to be the truth. And that shouldn't work like that. And I know I'm talking to a wall. Those kind of things, it's just common in Reddit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We can't change that, but it's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, nice. So Flower. So I read this a few times. So Flower said he's late for the stream. Apologies if it was already answered. If it wasn't, is there a certain number of GvG islands or territories to fight in? Is this number dynamic based on the number of guilds participating, or is it finite, limited number? So my understanding is there's only a certain amount, isn't there?
Yes, there's only a certain amount of territories you can choose from, and then it's pretty much set how many players can maximum amount of players who can participate on that particular island. On the S rank islands, it's 16 versus 16 in GvG, and then it goes down to 12 and 8, I think. And then also there's I don't know if there's a 4-man content for GvG. In GvE, it goes up to 50 players,
which is amazing. So what here's a one I've just thought of. If you if say your guild controls the S rank island, and then 40 guilds want to fight for that in 1 week, how does that work? Because you could only fight one at a time.
Yeah, that's it's a Swiss system, I think. The ranks, how it's made. Like basically, once the next week's GvG start, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are the current territory holder or the guild holding the territory. It just starts with the first match. The first match depends on your current rank. The first match starts with the first two place guilds who applied with the highest rank, overall guild rating. Of course, every win, every lose, like every time you win, you're gonna get more guild rating. Every time you lose guild rating, and the amount you win or lose depends on your current guild rating and the enemy's guild rating. So if you lose against a guild which is lower than you, of course, you lose more guild rating, and so on. So that's one thing. And once the first match is done, then it's all about, forget about the rank, the who is currently the holder. It's just about the Swiss system. Every time you win, you lose points. Gain points. Every time you lose points, and then you have like in total of 5 matches, if I remember correctly. And whoever has at the end of those end of the GvG day the highest points will be the territory owner. So you don't get any benefits out of the fact that you are currently holding the territory.
Okay.
So you can't snowball into that.
Yes. Okay. Nice one. All right. Has anybody else got any other questions? Having a little look through. So, Flower, hopefully that answered your questions there. Hardcore base majority doesn't seem like the best choice. God, inflation. Sake is talking about that all kind of. Okay. Does anybody have any more questions for this? Anything more? I'm out of questions. I think this has been fantastic. We just hit the 2-hour mark, so you might be getting a bit tired. You've answered a lot, and I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I think we have an abrasial run soon, so the people will be mad if I delayed the run.
No problem. All right, we'll call it there then. So will you be okay? One very quick one. Will you be in NA? You'll be in EU. EU, of course. Yeah. Tea Party in EU. Okay, so guys, I've got his channel. All right, so I've got Tea Party's channel. Let's put it both sides there for you guys. All right, check him out. He streams. Have you got any upcoming streams coming?
I will definitely start to stream once I have more time. I'm currently busy with the side project regarding Lost Ark. Once it's done, I will let you guys know, and then I will go back to my usual streaming and schedule and make the YouTube guides for all the content like I used to do. My prime focus is on PvE guides, so I will keep doing that. PvE guides for the Guardians, etc. So I will do that again once the current project is at the solid spot.
Perfect. And then there's a big lack of GvG content. Will Percy stream GvG? Last question.
I think I will stream GvG before UNA release. Once again, you will see that from a perspective of a pleb, so more people can relate to that, I guess. And of course, I will stream it only without the voice command because not everyone in the guild wants to have their voice in the streams. I did it a few times already, months ago, so I can definitely do that again before we get the UNA release, and I will most likely do that once we have GvG in UNA too.
Perfect. Okay, Lovely. Well, looking forward to that. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody. And Tea Party, what an absolute legend. Tea Party Percy. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for ages, and the amount of information there was amazing. If any of you guys want to see this again, obviously it'll be as a on Twitch. It'll be saved, but also on my YouTube channel as well. So Niall's awesome podcast. Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Tea Party. Have a good Abershad raids. I'm sure you're going to smash it, dude. So yeah,
Thanks,
it's been amazing. So peace out, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll speak soon. All right.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye bye.